Hey guys, this is me, Arthur, and you are watching How to Draw Creepy Creatures. Now, I have received a terrific request from Black Blood in My Eyes for Goatman. And most of you probably know what that is, but I'll break it down into a simplified version for those of you who don't. The Goatman is a legendary creature, the most famous of which is the Maryland Goatman. However, there are variations all across the country that has the hindquarters of a goat, the torso of a man, and the head of a goat, and with the horns and everything. It's believed to wield an axe and hunt teenagers on lovers' lanes. Now, in the folk tales, there's a lot of different origins. Some saying that it was a scientist who experimented with goats, others that it's the ghost of a goat farmer. However, most of the time it's usually portrayed as a supernatural entity associated with the devil. It's usually said to be seen at crossroads, at bridges. There are a couple bridges across the country that are specifically associated with Goatman. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Alright, let's start with this top of the head. Kind of give it a muzzle like a goat. Now, this is really interesting that this creature is specifically associated with lovers' lanes, because half goat, half humanoid mythical creatures in most cultures are typically associated with marriage rituals and fertility. So the idea that this specifically goes after lovers and is used as a precautionary tale against, well, I'm trying to keep the show family friendly, but you know what I'm talking about. Used as a precautionary tale against that. It's very interesting. It's kind of like our Christian culture took a pagan symbol and reversed the meaning. So instead of encouraging that, it goes against that. Okay. And that was the most awkward way of explaining that. But you guys know what I mean. I'm trying to keep this show family friendly, so I didn't actually want to say that out loud. Okay. Let's draw a rough impression of the axe. If you guys haven't seen BuzzFeed Unsolved, you should watch the episode about Goatman. It's pretty funny. Yeah. Okay. In fact, there is actually a theory that this whole hysteria about Goatman started in the late 1960s in Texas because of a film that was being made the old, oh, I forget which town it was in specific, but the theory is that people saw the goat costume or goat-like costume, and the fact that it wielded an axe, and they didn't understand that they were filming a movie, and it scared people. So, for a better explanation than what I gave you, I definitely recommend you look it up. Like, Wikipedia is good for that. It's a very interesting story how that evolved in our pop culture. In fact, what's actually interesting is that nowadays we're afraid of goat-like figures, specifically humanoids with goat features or capern features, when really, in older cultures, they were considered a positive symbol, specifically ram's horns being associated with divinity. Oh, here we go. That's what we got so far. So it's kind of interesting that that became something negative because we think, oh yeah, well, the devil has goat-like features, but interestingly, there's no part in the Bible that ever mentions the devil having goat-like features. That was something that was added around the year 1000 to religious art. And it's thought to have come from Christians coming in contact with pagan cultures who worshipped goat-like beings because they thought that goats were sacred. So they saw these kind of scary looking things and they're like, oh, they must be worshipping the devil. So that's where the idea of the devil having capern features comes from. Okay, that's what we got so far. Just, alright. Remember to do a strong emphasis on the chest area. so that it looks very human. What's interesting, though, is that even though the Goatman is typically associated with a specific location, things like that, it's kind of transcended uh, being location bound, due in part to the internet. So now there's sightings all over the country. What's also very interesting is that the Goatman is supposed to be able to change shape. It's sort of a trickster being, so it can take the form of one of your relatives or a friend and lure you into the woods to eat you. There's a lot of accounts of this. So I'm thinking it's probably not true. But if you see your best friend walk up to you in the dark alley at night and they baa at you, just run away. Just run. No reason to take a chance. Okay. In fact, it's kind of like the Goatman legend has been combined in some ways with the Skinwalker legend. Kind of like those two characters got confused, sort of like the Sphinx and the Manticore a little bit, so that in our current interpretation they borrow traits from one another. Okay. Remember to emphasize the hair a little bit on the legs. Alright, you see what I mean there? Okay. I'm going to turn this light a little bit, because I was wondering why it was so dark, and then I realized, oh wait, my light was turned in the wrong way. Okay, there we go. I like to do a lot of hair around the joints, particularly like the elbows. Okay. Okay. This isn't actually the first time a scary goat-like humanoid that there was like a panic about that. In France during medieval times, there was actually hunts for what was known as sheep people. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but they were convinced that there were these individuals who had made pacts with the devil so that they could become sheep when the moon was full. For what reason, no one could tell. That's just stupid. Why would you want to turn into a sheep in order to do the devil's work? But apparently that's what people did in medieval France. So a lot of people were burned at the stake. One young boy was even attacked by a mob because of this. And now scientists believe that they were actually targeting people with a rare form of Down syndrome that can cause sheep-like features in humans. So these people weren't making pacts with the devil, they just had a rare disease. So it's very interesting. Okay. Alright. Do a bit of a shine on the hooves. Darken this area here. Alright. I'm trying to show you guys what I'm doing a little bit more, because I noticed in the last videos I got so sucked into my work that you guys weren't actually getting a chance to see what I was doing, so I'm kind of trying to be a bit more interactive now. Do a little bit of hair around the shoulders. Right, now let's get into the face. Remember, goats kind of have an eye that's very similar to an octopus. Kind of that sideways pupil, like that. Oh, can you see? Yeah, now you can. All right. And kind of make the ear just a little bit raggedy, kind of like it's living in the woods. Maybe its ear gets torn a little bit when it's running through thicket. I'm gonna add a little bit more hair around the neck. I'm actually going to have the mouth open a little bit like it's bellowing. I don't like the mouth closed like the way I had it before. Gotta do these really ugly teeth. Yeah, goats have just really disgusting teeth, so I don't mean to say that like a goat racist, but they kinda do. So, alright. I'm gonna work a little bit more on that eye. That's a little better. Oh yeah, that's way scarier. There we go. That's better. There's actually a pagan deity that looks very similar to this called Cernunnos. Some folklorists believe that that might be the origin of the Goatman in some ways. So if you're interested in like the history behind legends and stuff, I definitely recommend looking that up because it's very interesting. This horn wouldn't bend this way. It would probably bend more like this. Oh yeah, that looks better. Now remember, goat horns kind of have this interesting ribbing pattern. The underneath is concave, but the top is convex. And so the ribbing pattern goes the opposite way. Remember to draw these ridges. Alright, that's what we got so far on the horns. Now let's do the axe a little bit. I imagine it kind of rusty. kind of like he's not taking very good care of it, so the edge is probably getting a little bit rusty. Okay, this is what we got so far. Right, now let's get into the shading. Okay. Remember, smooth, steady circles, guys. Yeah, I'm actually really glad I got a day off of work today, so I had time to do this, which is awesome. I was just gonna have to shove this off until later today, but nope, I can do it now. Instead of having to do laundry and other responsible adult things. Okay. Okay. Alright. Oh, almost forgot. Sign off with your artist mark. And you have just drawn Goatman. Okay, like, share, and subscribe. And I love getting suggestions and recommendations like this. So if you have any other creatures that you want me to draw, as long as it's not too freaky, I will teach you how to do it. Also, I'm looking specifically for Halloween creatures. So any of you guys have a favorite Halloween creature, I will do it for you this month. Okay. Also, if somebody completed a lesson on this show and would like to show off their artwork, you can send it to me at arthurwrotethis@gmail.com, and as long as you include your written permission in the email, I will show it off on the show with your name so everybody knows that you did it. Alright, thanks so much for watching, you guys, and goodbye.